on talking about TouchPro, so I'm kind of excited to be addressing all this. I did get some questions from Connie in the group, and I'm going to address some of those questions specifically, and then some of them maybe a little more generally. I know we got some people that have been around for a while and have heard some of this spiel before, and some people are brand new, so I'm going to get into kind of some detail about how apps work and what our process is like, so that everybody kind of understands not only what we do, but a little bit of why we do it the way we do it also. So I just want to kind of give an overview of our apps and address, when we're dealing with apps, one of the biggest challenges that we have is getting through the Apple approval process, and because of that, it drives a lot of what we've evolved into as far as how we do apps. So the way I like to explain this is, a lot of us are used to, we have an idea for something we want to do, we go register a domain, we find a place that we can host our website, and we put it out there to the world, and anything that we want to do and put up is available to the world. And, there's things like it's a work in progress, and there's this under construction and coming soon type stuff in a website. And, in the web world, that's kind of what we're used to. Actually, when we're dealing with native apps for the Android version, it's fairly much the same. As long as you're not doing anything really flagrantly bad, you're going to be able to publish whatever you want and have your app in Google Play. Completely different story with Apple. They have really tight guidelines of what they will let in their stores. So, we've spent a lot of time going through those and come up with a lot of formulas for certain businesses, exactly what an app needs to look like so that we can go through the approval process. And when you're kind of outside of that template for businesses that we call express apps, then you get into something that's it's just completely kind of an unknown of what it might take to get an app approved. It might be that there's just no way possible that you're going to have the right content and be able to put the right things in an app, or that it just takes a really lot of work to figure out with what somebody is doing that they want an app about, how to kind of structure that so it gets to the guidelines. So that was, like I say, that's kind of the evolution of things and why we have express apps. So what we found is, in accordance with all those guidelines, that here's kind of a template that we can use. If we build an app in this template and go to people and say, just give us this information, and it depends on what we need to collect, depending on what type of business it is, then we can have them give that to us, and with just a little bit of back and forth, with not a lot, we have everything we need. We can put the app together and we can get it published. So what you're seeing on this slide here is the list of the express categories as far as like the business sectors that we offer express apps to. And if you look in the TouchPro Express on the website, you'll see that if you have a business that's outside of one of these, there's also a possibility that it could fit into Express, and I'm always here to answer questions if you've got something that you're just not sure of. But in general, what's really important is that it's a brick and mortar business, and that they have a website so that we can go get content. And there's a couple other minor things there, but those are the main things. So that we have a little bit of flexibility. You possibly could still be an express model even if you're outside of one of these businesses. But these are the ones, if you're just going out after apps, these are the ones that are the best way to do it. Just target these businesses because it's a fairly simple, straightforward process of putting everything we need for this app together and getting it approved. We also have, outside of Express, I haven't got a slide on this, but we do it-yourself, and we've got a few people that are, fairly talented with graphics and putting these type of things together that have built a business out of doing DIY apps. You can get them for a lot cheaper, and then you know, you're as a service provider, they do the work, go after the customers, and I know a lot of people that are doing this, or you know, they're selling the app for the DIY price, presenting themselves as a service provider, and working out whatever deal they are, you know, that they want to negotiate with a company to put that content together, and can make pretty good money just on whatever they're getting from the company just to put the app content together. So there's that avenue that you can go with the DIY apps. And then there's also, we've got the ultimate app if something just doesn't fit and it's kind of hard to put together. It's going to take a lot of work. Then we've also got something at a significantly higher price, like at $24.95. But we also have a way that we can accommodate that. So I'm going to get into, I think now this part of my presentation will be a little more start addressing the questions that were submitted. So one of them was, what's the process like for an Express app? And you know, the sale is made, and what we do is we'll send out an introductory letter with instructions of, depending on what business category they're in, where to, what form that they need to fill out. And then go right to there, there's also a checklist where here's the information you're going to need to fill out the form, put all this together. When you're ready, go online, fill out the form, provide us all this information, send it in to us. Shortly after we get that, usually the way this works is there's something that may not be perfectly clear. There's just a little bit of back and forth needed. So, you know, we'll reach out, contact the customer, get clarification on anything that we may need, and then we'll start building the app. And just depends on, you know, the sector that it's in and what our workload is like, and you know, how fast people get stuff to us that we need. But that process can take, I know some of you have been involved in this, where we've put together apps in a matter of 2 days from the time the purchase was made, but we get everything done within 2 weeks, you know, provided that the information that we request is provided to us. So after that happens and we're ready to publish, we'll have the customer sign off on, okay, this is the app that I want. They can get a preview app and view it and see what it looks like, make any adjustments that are needed. Then we'll start the publish process. From the time the publish process starts, we're looking at sometimes same day, no more than 48 hours before it's actually live in Android. And then at that point, we publish to Apple. We're looking at generally 10. For the most part, with Apple, that's all it takes, as long as we're working within this model. You know, we've got it down pretty good where first shot at going through Apple, we're going to get an app approved. Very occasionally it happens that for whatever reason something is missing, Apple could reject it, and you know, in that case, we fix whatever's needed and submit it back. So it can take a little longer than that 10 to 14 days, but as a rule, we'll get them live in Apple within that time. And then after we get it live, we'll set up a time with the customer where we'll give them like a 30-minute session of training of, here's how to use your app, and here's how you want to do updates to your app. You know, depending upon kind of what it is they want to do and what they want to manage themselves going from that point. Let's see. I think we're going to jump into questions next. Let me get these in front of me, or I can see them a little better on my other screen. Okay, so I don't know if these are in any order, but these are the questions that came to me. And so I'm going to be kind of, those of you who dealt with me know I am like this. I'm kind of real technical as far as how things work. So what is the CV, commissionable value of an Express app sold at $6.95? So the official answer to that is 0. I don't know if somebody really meant CV. The way our commission program work is CV is commissionable volume, and that applies to residual. What I get paid monthly, what feeds into that monthly compensation calculations is what CV is. So on our apps, as well as our reseller kits that have that upfront bonus, that fast start bonus associated with them, those do not have a CV on the initial sale on that $6.95. CV doesn't kick in until people start paying their monthlies, and then you get the residual income. on those purchases of both the apps and the reseller kits. They do have business volume. Business volume is qualifying volume, so that can help you. Apps are actually a good way if you're close or even within a few hundred points of making a rank, that you can reach that rank by getting that app, because that entire amount, if it's $6.95, that all goes as business volume, qualifying volume, to help you progress in ranks. But BV is just strictly for qualifying. It doesn't have anything to do with commissions other than get you to a higher rank. So anyway, I think probably what was meant by this question was it CV, but it's actually like coded bonus volume is what we pay on for the fast starts. And what that equals is it's the entire amount of the sale feeds into the compensation plan, and then that goes into the coded bonus program at level 1. Stage 1 gets 20% of that, stage 2 10%, stage 3 5%, and stage 4 5%. So all in all, there's 40% of the sale price of an app that feeds into the coded bonus program. Next slide here. How does the high margin bonus get added into the Express app? So whatever app sells for, like Express app, $5.95 for the basic, $6.95 for the with the iPad version, then we add $100 extra off the price of any of those apps and feed it into the compensation plan. So like in that previous example of $6.95, and then a total of 40% of that gets paid to all the stages. In the case of if you're qualified to earn high margin bonus, then that would be $7.95 that feeds into the plan, and then those percentages of 20, 10, 5, 5 would determine what each stage bonus pays. Moving on. Oh, I think I might have, let's see. I don't know if these were two separate questions or if I convoluted it a little bit. So I think there was a specific question about what's the CV of the Express app. So same thing. It's not CV that's getting fed into it. It's the coded bonus volume, and it's the additional $100 that feeds in and then pays as per those percentages. Can we get password protection added to the gallery function of the Express apps? That is a feature that's not available. We've actually submitted that to the dev guys. I think that's a good idea. We'll see where that goes. You know, the way these apps always work is we're always seeing new features being added to them, and you know, it's kind of a challenge. There's lots and lots and lots of good ideas, and you know, there's only so many of them that make it into actually getting into the app. So we'll see how it goes for this one. Around, again, those Apple guidelines, potentially with something like this, it could be a bit of a challenge in that Apple likes everything to be wide open and available to everybody and not have limitations. So I'm not sure if that would be a issue with this, but at any rate, good suggestion, and it's been submitted. But the answer at this point is, you know, there is no password protection on individual galleries. I think that was submitted as a question like, I don't know if there's any other usage of this, but as a photographer app, that they could have like a gallery for a certain person, and then they could go to the app and view that. Looking for a layout structure for the home page of Express apps. Some clients may desire a certain look, and it would be helpful to have some basic ideas of what you can have. Okay, so let's look at these. There's kind of two basic layouts, and then off the very basic layout, there's kind of some versions of it. So here's a screenshot of the AlphaLoop app, and this is fairly standard. You see you've got your buttons that jump to the individual functions of the app that go across the bottom of the app. And there is the ability to put more than one row of buttons in the app. Kind of because of the Apple guidelines, we don't submit our apps that way. Users can go back and change after the fact and stack those buttons, but we go with just the more button, as far as it'll take you to a menu of everything that doesn't show up just on those first four up front. And the reason of that is we actually got apps that this wasn't so much related to, if you have, like, let's say you put 2 rows, but you had more buttons or more features than was actually covered in what would display in those 2 rows. And the way it works is you have to swipe those bank of buttons to get to the next ones. We've actually had apps turned down because whoever was reviewing it said people wouldn't know they have to swipe. So by default, this is what we do as far as if you have this layout with the buttons at the bottom, 4 of your primary functions with a more button to jump to the rest of the functions. And then up on top, this can be static. You see the logo there, and all of that real estate above the buttons can be whatever you want it to be. Logo, photo, imagery, whatever, you know, represents what the app is about. And then often we can also do where these are sliders that either you have to flick to slide them to go to different imagery, or you can get them so that they auto rotate between the different slides. And the way that works, for those of you, the way I like to explain this is it's kind of like if you think of Photoshop in layers. This won't mean something to all of you, but some of you will kind of grasp it this way. This is just an image, you know, it's pixels, it's opaque on a transparent background is the way that the sliders actually work. So you have an image that's the full size, height and width of the phone, but only part of it is what displays. So that's the way you create those images, and then you can do up to 5 different sliders that also can link to different parts of the app. So it's kind of you can do that with sliders as a showcase of things that you want to highlight that then can jump people to the parts of the app that are relative to what you were showcasing there. And then the next version that's available is, as far as the layout of the home page, is what's called the modern slider. So the way this works is, by default you have the base look, and then there's also what's standard. People know about the little 3-line icon that jumps to the menu. That would display on this main page, and then when you click that, now you can go to, it's either a list, or what I like better is this bank of buttons that are, you know, bigger and just have a whole different look than those little small buttons of, you know, open up the menu from the home page and select which function that you want to go to, and then close that menu by clicking that little 3-bar icon at the top to toggle back and forth. So those are the basics of what you have available, what we have available to us as far as what the look and feel is like for the landing page of the app. Let's see. Can we get, oh, I've got an extra slide in there. We don't need that one. That's a duplicate, huh? Oh, somebody was asking about golf apps, and this is actually one that's pretty cool as far as a new feature. And with that, we've done a few golf apps, and we've recently added that to the Express offering. And it's a little bit of work behind setting this up. So what we do is we'll walk people through, at the Express price, we'll walk you through how to set up all these holes, and then the customer will be responsible for doing the rest of those. But what you can do is you can go like to Google Maps, and you can get a map of that golf course, like do the Google Earth, and you can get the specifics from the golf course itself as far as where all the tees are, and you can plot those on the map, along with is the pin front, middle, back of the green, and you plot all these things for each hole, and then what that allows everyone to do is see what the yardages are from the different tees and to the pin, depending on where it's at. And what's really cool I like about this is you can also then use your app while you're on the course, and it will determine your GPS coordinates of where you are and tell you this is how many yards it is from me to the pin. So that's pretty cool. And again, that's another example of of features that keep getting added to the apps all the time that just really make them cool. And then along with that is kind of some standard stuff as far as each hole is going to show you, what's par, what the handicap is, and then you also have the ability to keep score within the app and not carry a scorecard around. Okay, so that's all I have, and I think you can chat me if there's anything I missed, but I think I've covered all the questions that everybody had, and if we have any more that come up or follow-ups after this, you can submit them to us at support@alphaloopcorp.com or comf5.com. Either way, that'll get to us. Or maybe we can schedule another session and cover these questions.